Nick here, third row, and first question.
Steve, Nick Friedel, ESPN, injury-related questions. What's the latest on Kevin and his status for tomorrow?
So Kevin won't play tomorrow, but he's ramping up his exercise routine, his workouts. And Klay is day-to-day, so he's questionable. And Loon is out, for the series. So there's your medical update.
Andre, okay.
Yeah, Andre's going to play.
Was he able to do anything?
Yeah, he practiced.
Jeff on the far right.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Steve, with the importance of sports science staffs and training staffs, what do you want the goal to be? What did you learn from Phoenix that maybe you wanted to bring here? And, what is their overall importance in helping put guys on the court?
Well, I think the idea is to provide the players the best possible care, and I think over the last couple of decades, it's incredible the difference in the size of training staffs, the expertise, the overall knowledge that we have now compared to 20 years ago, and so you want to hire top-notch people, and you want your players to be well taken care of and to participate in their own well-being. And so we have a really good group. We're very proud of our group and lucky to have them. And our players have done a very good job of being engaged with them all year. And you just try to stay as healthy as possible, but you got to be aware that stuff's just going to happen, and there's not much you can do about it.
Hi, Steve. Kareth Burke, NBC Sports Bay Area. Going back to Kavon's injury, a non-displaced first costal cartilage fracture, just what is that in layman's terms, and is it a situation where he can't raise his arm?
Well, it's kind of, I think it's closer to the breastbone here. It is part of the collarbone, from what I understand, kind of in that in the joint in there, and so it's not anything that's going to be a problem long term, but it's going to keep him out for the rest of the series, which is obviously a big blow for us and for him. I mean, he's had such a great season, such a great postseason run, and fortunately, it won't affect his future, but it's a big loss for us.
Fragility of this time of year. The players want to give the most of their bodies. The demands are on it, but it's also the time of year where a long season catches up with you. Just what do you make of the injuries piling up in this moment?
Yeah, it's just the way it goes. And we've been playing 100-plus games for 5 years now. Not all of our players, but our team. And so we've got a lot of guys who have played long, difficult seasons, and they take great care of themselves, but there's a certain amount of luck involved with this too, and we know that. We've been on both sides of that. Some of our opponents have suffered injuries. We've suffered injuries. It's just part of the deal. So you just keep pushing forward.
Josh Peter with USA Today. How have all the injuries impacted Steph's role as a leader and just his ability to stabilize things or efforts to stabilize things, and how has he grown into the role of leader?
Well, he's been our leader since I've been here, and he leads by example. We have, and I should clarify that he's been one of our key leaders. Andre and Draymond, I would single out as well. But they all lead in their own unique ways. And Steph leads with his example, his work ethic, his humility. The players all love him. They love playing with him. They appreciate him so much. And I think with the injuries, where he's grown is his awareness, his understanding of what needs to happen, what he needs to do when other guys are out. Just sort of, game management stuff. But he's always been the same person. I think that's the beauty of Steph. He doesn't change. He's a rock, and our guys lean on him all the time.
Hey, Steve, Mark Medina, Bay Area News Group. It's obviously a different set of injuries and an opponent, but what do you think it's going to take to have a kind of performance like the Game 6 against Houston where, the star players that are healthy and the bench players all rose to the occasion?
Yeah, and that's not the only time that that has happened. I mean, the other night was a good example. We had to finish the game without Klay, without Kevin. We did that in Game 5 of the Houston series too, when Kevin got hurt. And so our team is very adaptable. We got a lot of versatility, and what it requires is bench players being ready to step up like they always are, and guys just playing hard and playing together. And I think you have to be fearless too, which our team is. You can't worry about anything. You just go out there and play and compete and let it fly, and whatever happens, happens.
Hi, Steve. Janie McCauley from AP. We only got to see a half an hour of it. Did Kevin get on the court at all today, or is he? And that's still a step that you need to.
Kevin's going to get on the floor at the practice facility later today. So he did not get on the floor here. He was here for our film session and for some treatment, but he'll be getting some work in this afternoon. And so yeah, he's out for tomorrow, but improving, and we'll just keep updating you when we have something.
Hi, Steve. Ann Killian, San Francisco Chronicle. How challenging is this stretch for you and your coaching staff? I mean, can you compare it to other playoff stretches in terms of, just what you're having to do, playing young players, losing key bodies, trying to figure out the right rotations?
I don't really look at it that way. I haven't even stopped to think about whether this reminds me of any particular year or anything. It's just part of the job, and I think the way we look at it is it's a challenge, and we accept the challenge and embrace it. And both as a team and as a staff, we sort of, but obviously we're mostly just feeling sorry for the players who can't be out there because that's what they work for. But when it happens, we feel like, all right, we got to do our jobs, and we've got to figure out the combinations that'll make sense, and we just do it, and it's part of the job, and it's I don't want to say enjoyable because it's dampened by the injuries themselves, and you feel bad. I feel so bad for Loon, especially. Klay and Kevin were very hopeful they're going to be back out there, but Loon, much like DeMarcus. The second game of the playoffs, when these guys go down, and especially during the postseason, you just feel so badly for them. But the job is to move on and give your team the best chance to win. So we just meet every day and try to figure it out.
Steve, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Boogie just said that the last time he saw a box and one was in middle school. Steph called it a janky defense. I was wondering when the last time you saw a janky defense like that, and how do you think it worked against you guys?
In ninth grade, a team played one against me, so very proud to announce that. I had a box and one just like Steph. So janky defenses have been going on for a long time. What does janky mean anyway? I'm not exactly sure, but
that was Steph's word. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very effective. The key with the zone is, or any janky defense for that matter, it just changes the rhythm. And so watching the tape, we had open looks that we didn't knock down, but the rhythm changed and the look changed, and so it was very effective. They did a good job with that. It's just typically not something you can rely on for big, long stretches of the game. It's probably something you see more often in high school, even college, you'll see it. But I don't remember ever seeing it in the NBA.
Mark, last question on that.
Yeah, Steve, Mark Berman, New York Post. How did Klay look moving around or shooting? We saw some shooting. How optimistic are you about Game 3?
Well, he says he's feeling well and that he's feeling a lot better today than he did yesterday, and he thinks he'll be ready to go. But yeah, as I said the other night, Klay's always going to say he's ready to go, and what we'll have to determine is that a risk? If he plays, are we risking anything? If the training staff feels good about his ability to go out there and play without making things worse, then he'll play. But if there's a risk, we'd rather give him the next couple of days to continue to heal and hopefully have him out there for Game 4. But it's literally day to day.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
PN. You referred to the box and one that the Raptors threw at you as a janky defense. Steve was wondering what exactly that janky is defined as. I think we all are. And what did you think of the fact that they threw it at you, and how did it work?
I don't know. That's I don't even know, a little Southern North Carolina slang. I probably just pull out my back pocket. It sounds right. I don't really know what the true definition is. But anyway, it was obviously innovative and unexpected in terms of a defense you haven't seen in a while. But there are obviously things that we could have done differently to try to create better shots. Every possession they threw at us, whether it's me off the ball or with the ball in my hands or, working around other guys. But at the end of the day, that fourth quarter was just kind of weird overall with the pace and lack of scoring. We played amazing defense, and that gave us, that cushion to close the game out and sustain that lead, even though we weren't able to create, much offense in those last 6 minutes. But we'll be prepared for what they throw at us, going forward in this series, and just got to be able to adapt. That's pretty much what the finals is about at this stage, where you got to expect to see literally anything and a lot of desperation in certain moments of games when they make those type of calls. So we'll be ready for whatever.
When's the last time you saw a box and one in the NBA?
I honestly can't remember. Probably last time I saw was when I had a Wildcat jersey on, though.
Next question in the back.
Josh Peter with USA Today Steph. How would you regard your role as a leader right now, especially at times when you're playing without KD and Klay? How do you stabilize things or help stabilize things?
Nothing changes. Stay consistent with my approach every year, whether it's in training camp or in the finals and everything in between. Just trying to boost confidence, create the right perspective going into each game, and we do it by committee. There's a lot of different voices that we have that we rely on. Myself, Draymond, Sean, Andre, even K when he's able to provide his input, even when he's injured and going through his rehab and stuff like that. So we all just understand the moment, and we're very locked in and focused on adapting to the circumstances that are thrown at us right now with a lot of injuries and kind of uncertainty of even who's going to be able to play. So we've been through a lot, had a lot of different experiences. This is just adding to that book. So we got to be ready.
Fourth row on your right, Steph.
Logan Murdoch, NBC Sports Bay Area. You kind of just touched on it with the injuries, but you guys have lost Kevin. Klay's questionable, and Andre was going through his stuff. How have you guys been able to overcome these types of injuries throughout the postseason?
It's just a continuation of kind of what I talked about after the game, after Game 2. It's just everybody being ready. The way that we play, I think everybody feels involved on both ends of the floor and has an opportunity to impact the game. Not necessarily like, scoring every possession, but just playing within the flow and sharing the ball, moving out, playing unselfishly and just a style where everybody's going to get touches and just got to be confident and aggressive. So, again, day to day, it's just whoever's healthy, be ready to go. compete, have fun doing it, and whoever's out there on the floor just feel like you can't help us win the game, and a lot of guys showed that resiliency in game 2, and it's going to have to continue for us to to get 3 more wins.
Mark here in the front.
Hey, Steph, Mark Medina, Bay Area News Group. Andre was saying the other day that one of his sources of motivation was to protect your legacy, and from his perspective, he felt like there's peers that are jealous of what you've accomplished, and I was wondering what your perspective on that issue is.
I mean, honestly, I don't need anybody's validation or praise or them to hype me up as other people in the league. I know who I am. Like I always say, confident in my abilities and appreciative of the stage that I get to play on alongside my teammates, especially these last 5 years. So whatever comes with that territory doesn't really bother me, whether I'm liked or disliked or whether people respect my game or value for what it is doesn't really matter. I have great teammates who understand, one, what it takes to win, and just the fun that we have playing the way that we do, and the experiences that we've been able to create. So at the end of the day, that's all I'll remember when this is all said and done. Andre is the guy that kind of sets the tone when it comes to the overall perspective of what we're doing and protecting the conversation around that. But again, at the end of the day, I love playing for championships and being on the stage, and I want it to continue for as long as it can.
Third row on the far right.
Monty Poole, NBC Sports Bay Area. Steph, when DeMarcus went down in game 2 of the first round, I think there was a thought that maybe he wouldn't be able to come back in the postseason. Obviously, he's back now, and given what he was able to give you guys in game 2 the other night, just what is your feeling about having him back among all the other injuries? You get him back, and what does he mean to you guys going forward?
I'm just happy for him, to be honest. I mean, like you said, there was so much uncertainty around his timeline, coming back, and for this to be his first finals experience, you can't be, more happy for him to have an opportunity to really impact the series in a positive way for us. And game 2 was a huge step in the right direction in terms of him being able to play that many minutes and just increase his workload with all he's been through this last, call it 16, 18 months. So happy to have him back. He's going to be huge for us the rest of the series. And you can tell he's reminding people of how special of a talent he is, and how versatile he is, and how he's been playing, and just getting more comfortable, with his body out there. And I think it's only going to continue to improve as the series goes on.
Last question here in the second row.
Yeah, Jeff Ferrato, Bay Area News Group. Just piggybacking off of what Monty asked you. DeMarcus out there said he expects to be better still in Game 3. What's your expectation for him? Would you be surprised if you're able to run the offense through him to some degree?
That's one of his main talents, is being able to play make, whether it's on the block or out on the perimeter or wherever he catches the ball. I think for him, it's just becoming still more confident in his ability to put pressure on defenses, on the block, and use his size, get us, some easy buckets down there. But I think defensively he's been amazing. Just trying to be a plug in the paint, and even when he needs to come out in the perimeter and rotate and things like that. But again, when you miss that much time and you're playing at the intensity of a finals game, and I don't think he had any minute restrictions, but it goes from 12 minutes to almost 30 and whatnot. That's a huge jump. So I just got to assume that his confidence level is going to continue to increase as he gets some more minutes under his belt, and that should be a good sign for us as a team.
Thanks, Steph. Klay Thompson will be next.
It'll be a game time decision. But for me personally, it'd be hard to see me not playing. So hopefully I'll feel much better tomorrow and be a go for tip-off.
John Dickinson, 95.7 The Game. Just to kind of follow up on that, what would the training staff have to say to you to where you wouldn't play? Is it entirely in their hands, or would it also, how strong of a case would you make to go at that point?
Obviously, I'll do anything I can to be out there, but it's all in their hands, and if there's any pain, it would be a no-go just because of the position we're in. You know, this could be a longer series, so there's no point in trying to go out there and re-aggravate it and potentially keep myself out of the whole entire finals instead of just one game. So, like I said, it'll be a game-time decision, but I really want to be out there.
And just how's the pain level for you now, and were you able to do anything this morning other than just some of the shooting we saw?
Oh, it's much better than it was Sunday night, so hopefully the same progress will be made, and I'll be moving like my normal self tomorrow. But pain level wasn't too crazy at all.
Mark, next row.
Clay, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. People like Boogie and Steph have never remembered seeing a boxing one in the NBA until Sunday night. What did you think of that defense? Steph called it disrespectful and janky.
I mean, I didn't mind it because we ended up winning the game, so and Andre got a great look there at the end for the dagger. So I don't think it was the best strategy because we did get open looks, but we didn't score too well in those last 6 minutes. But that doesn't matter because, like I said, we made the buckets when they needed to be made the most.
Front row on your right.
Anthony Slater with The Athletic. Clay, can you just take us through the play where the injury, it seemed to begin the discomfort when you kind of did the splits there, and then you still played through it, and when did you kind of start feeling the pain where you couldn't play?
I mean, I anticipated getting hit, which I probably shouldn't have done, so I landed awkwardly, just kind of tweaked my hamstring, and when you're moving, it's all good, but right when you stop moving around, it just really tightened it up on me like a knot, and I couldn't really get any full motion anymore. So I called to come out the game because I literally couldn't run like I'm used to. And it sucked, but like I said before, the progress I've made these last couple of days is very encouraging. And if it continues, I look forward to playing tomorrow night.
Next row back.
Clay, right here, right side, second row. I remember last final that after the game one, actually you got a swollen ankle from that injury. And what was the men's side out there to make you to decide to play at game two? Because after that, I remember your ankle just so swollen. Yeah. And then what was the men's side out there? And then do you have the same men's side here when you go into the game two?
I mean, well, last year I think I was in a much worse position than I am now, which is good. So that's a good sign. I mean, injuries are never fun. It's the most unfortunate part of sports, but it tests your character, and playing through pain makes it all worth it in the end. Especially this time of the year, I don't think anyone's 100% healthy on both teams. But like I said before, you just gotta, as cliche as it is, dig deep and realize we have months to rest after this and recover. So for me, it's just about doing everything I can up till tip-off tomorrow to be able to go, because I hate missing games. I really do.
Next question, fourth row on the right.
Tom Haberstroh, NBC Sports. Clay, you've guarded CP, you've guarded Dame, you've guarded tons of point guards this postseason. You're going up against Kawhi Leonard in this series for a lot of possessions. What kind of, issues does he present versus a point guard guarding a guy like Kawhi?
I mean, Kawhi is so big and strong. You can't really muscle him. You can't really force him off his path. All you can do is try and take away his airspace. He's got to become such a good ball handler, such a great shooter, especially in the mid-range, that you got to do anything you can to take his rhythm away. You can tell he plays a great rhythm, especially with the ball when he has a live dribble. So as a defender, you just try and make someone with that much talent and ability a little more uncomfortable, whether it's doubling off a ball screen or switching aggressively or just, picking up at half court, trying to make them work for every possession. Lucky for us, we have so many great defenders, we can throw many looks at them. But Kawhi just presents a lot of problems, and his playmaking has gotten so much better since he first got in the league. He's a complete player on that side of the ball, or just a complete player in general, and much different challenge than what I faced these last few rounds. So I embrace it, and it's fun to measure yourself against the best.
Just as a quick follow-up, the hamstring, is it offensively just running up and down when you feel it most, or is it, side to side limiting?
I think it's just on when I have to stop on a dime or make hard cuts. That's when you feel it the most. But if I can just be out there, even at 80%, I still think I can be very effective. So I'll do whatever I can to get to that full 100. But if not, I'll still be out there and try and do what I can to help my team win.
In the Guardian, in a situation like this, how do you gauge what's an appropriate pain to play through and what's a pain that you need to say, that's too much, I need to sit out? How do you sort of determine that?
That's a good question. Probably if you only feel it on certain couple moves, you're fine. But if you feel it every step of the way, that's not a good sign. And I do not feel it with every move I make, only on certain ones. So you can kind of play through that. But if it was something that was consistent on whenever I move my leg, or if I make every sharp cut or every sprint, that would not be good. But it's only a few exact movements that I really feel it. So that's very encouraging.
Last question in the fifth row.
Dennis from Tencent. Hi, Clay. Coach Kerr mentioned your health condition. You mentioned you have to day-to-day consideration and game time decision, and he mentioned the word risk. He said it's all about taking risks, whether to put you on the court. So what's your thoughts on those risk-taking things?
Well, something's got to give. It's the NBA Finals, and we're putting our bodies on the line every game. That's just the nature of our business, injuries, and obviously we have such a great training staff that they're closing that window of risk for me by the hour. And from the progress I've made these last 2 days, I'm very encouraged that I'll be able to go out there tomorrow night. And as long as nothing's torn or really injured, I'm not too fearful of it because, knock on wood, I've been very blessed with not very many traumatic injuries in my career. And I don't think this one is of greatest concern, but it's just the day and age we live in where, little things can just grow to be big problems, but I don't think this will be one of them.
Thank you, Clay.
No problem.
The order for Toronto in the interview room. Doug, first question in the back center.
Hey Nick, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. The other day you talked about your team needs to score more to get in these games, and do you have to change the way you play, like call more sets for that to happen, or how do you generate that kind of situation given the way you normally play?
Yeah, we're trying to play as normally as we can, Doug. I think it's always a game of rhythm a little bit, and you got to watch what's happening. We've got, as you know, we talk a lot about our shot spectrum, the shots we're trying to get. We got to get a certain amount of paint touches. We got to get the ball side to side. Those are things you just got to keep an eye on. I think we just had some lulls in those three areas in Game 2.
Scott here in the front.
Scott Osler, San Francisco Chronicle. Nick, right here. You coach in the D League or G League, whatever it was called then. Could you give us a sense of what that's like coaching there, and also how that has become a legitimate springboard for this league? Because the Warriors have a couple guys that.
Yeah. The biggest thing I always say is getting the head coaching experience. And the interesting thing about the G League is that, one of the things about being a head coach is you got to, get up in front of the team and run the team, right? But you're trying to always, as a coach, develop chemistry, define roles, get guys to play their butts off. And in the D League, you got so much change, or in personnel, guys coming and going, that you end up having to do that probably much more than you would at this level or most levels, where you got your team kind of from start to finish. And you can, once you get those roles developed or some chemistry built, that kind of goes to the end of the year, but you're kind of always getting that disrupted in the D League. So I thought it's a good chance to work at those skills maybe more than you would any place else in the world. And the other thing I always say, everybody that's been in the D League's a little better off for it. It's a really great place and really great people, and players just, man, they play hard, and really enjoyed my time there.
Tim in the back row.
Nick, all the way in the back. Tim Reynolds with the AP. I'm sure you heard that Kawhi filed suit against Nike yesterday, and I know their disagreement has gone on for a while, obviously. Speaking broadly, not about that specifically, but broadly, how have you guys learned to manage noise? I mean, you've had it from day one, is he staying, is he going, all those things, and all the other things that go on from day one to a finals game 3. How has this team learned to manage noise and things of that nature when they just seems like it never stops these days?
Well, first of all, I learn a lot of things when I come to these press conferences. You guys tell me a lot of things. It's just a lot of times I don't know about much of the noise till somebody asks me a question about it. A lot of times. So again, it's to me, it's like part of the job. Like I love, like most people, I love listening to all the shows and the podcasts and the whatever, and I haven't listened to a one since the playoffs have started, and I miss it. You know what I mean? But it's part of the job to not, either way. If they're killing you, you're going to get pissed at somebody. And if they're telling you how great you are, then you're going to have another wrong opinion of yourself, right? So you just, I think the players do the same for the most part. There's enough energy that's needed, and concentration and focus in executing these game plans and playing your heart out, and resting and recuperating and traveling and all the things. So I think there's enough to focus on that occupies us, and we just got to try to stay a little bit out of some of that stuff. And like I keep saying as well, like with all the stuff, I've got a lot of questions about Drake and blah blah blah. You don't even really notice that most of that stuff's going on. A lot of that's after the game, before the game, between the games, etc. But once the ball goes up, feels like I'm coaching in Des Moines, Iowa again,
Second row on your right.
Yeah, Nick, Jeff Ferrata with the Bay Area News Group. Can you talk about your impressions of what DeMarcus Cousins was able to do for them in Game 2, and if there was anything in particular that you thought you were well impressed with?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously came out with a certain game plan against Gasol, right? The first possession of the game, he went out and damn near tackled him, right? And then the ball went out of bounds, and he clobbered him again on the way out of bounds. So he was obviously going to go out there and try to physically intimidate him. But he also, he did the same. He passed the ball pretty well. He was a big presence in there. I thought he hit a big three. We didn't close out to him quite hard enough. We were there, but wasn't good enough, and he made it. Kind of kept things ticking over. I think when we were up maybe 10, and he cut it to 7 or something like that in the first half. But no, he played great, and I figured he's an all-star player. He's got tons of talent. He's a big body. I figured as the series goes on and he gets the timing back and the thing, he'll keep playing better.
Michael towards the back right.
Nick, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. Can you just maybe walk us through your decision to go box and one with Fred against Steph at the end of the fourth quarter, or the last half of the fourth quarter, and maybe some of your thinking about being willing to try kind of unusual things in a very, in the spotlight?
Well, we were having trouble getting our defense set up. We were having trouble at the basket a little bit. And we were having trouble with the rhythm of the game there. usually, you know, you use like any zone, so it's a type of zone. You know, that's what you're using zone for a lot. You know, you and I have talked about this before. We played some zone during the regular season, and you usually do it to when the game's funky and there's a bad rhythm, and maybe you can change it, right? Just by slowing them down or stopping some of their cutting or whatever. And it seemed to protect the rim better for us and stop some of their cutting. And it was good. I don't know. I was just trying to come up with something to stop them.
But I mean, I think Steve Kerr was here and saying he'd never seen it in the NBA before. And, you know, he said someone threw one at him when he was in grade 9, so he was very proud about that.
Yeah, no, everybody's making fun of me for it, right?
But that's sort of the point. I'm sure you were probably subject to a box of one in Carroll one time. I'm sure.
No, I was never that kind of player.
All
but
right.
go on.
But the point is like your team hadn't practiced that, I'm guessing, and you know did you just come up with it on the spur of the moment, like at a timeout, you know, and then again to have the faith to roll something out there that in that circumstance.
Well, in all those things, first of all, your players have to have some faith in it, right? And I got a sense from them that they were good with it in the timeout. You know, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about going boxing one. What do you guys think? And they were like, well, what does that look like? And I drew the box up and who would be where. Not. You know, they just wanted, and they kind of liked the looks of, you know, Mark and Kawhi being down and, you know, Kyle up and Fred chasing, and they were and Kyle was kind of the one that said, yeah, man, that'll work. Let's go. And that kind of lets you, I don't know, let you share the responsibility a little bit, and we're all on the same page, and we leave the huddle, and we're all good with it. So that helps.
Over here.
Trista Crick, USA Today. Coach, you and I spoke after game 1 just about plans to still run the offense through Mark. Obviously, Coach Kerr wanted to stop you from doing that. What specifically did inserting Boogie into the lineup do to sort of neutralize Mark?
Well, I think again, like I mentioned, they tried to get up and rough him up and play him, you know, with some pressure out there on the perimeter. Mark had some really good looks too. I mean, it wasn't like I mean, he had some in the quarter from hell, the third quarter that we had there. He had like 3 or 4 of the really good looks there. One from about 8 feet, one from about 10 feet, and then one was a wide open 3. So. You know, he did do a good job though, pressuring him, and Mark will be the first one to say that he didn't have as good a game as he would have liked to have.
So in game 3, is it sort of make or miss, keep things the same, or is there an adjustment to be made in your view?
There might be an adjustment to make, yeah.
Last question in the 4th row.
Nick, Greg Logan of Newsday. There's been a lot of talk about the Warriors' injury situation, and yet we've seen that there have been times when Kawhi was compromised. How would you characterize his physical status right now and his ability to take over some of these games?
He's good, right? I kind of keep saying I think he's good. Really knows his body. I think he's got a lot of minutes in him, you know, 40 plus a night. And I think he's gonna get his cracks at the shots.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.
Kawhi, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Can you explain what it was like when Nick proposed the box and one to you guys for the first time in the timeout, and how you guys embraced that new way to go, and how it worked?
I mean, at that time, you just, listening to the coach and trying to win the game. So we just, myself, I'll just speak for myself. I just went out there and tried to execute. At times, coming back in transition on the floor, we forgot that we were in it, but we just kind of talked it out and still got into our locations.
Do you think it can work in stretches for the rest of the series?
Probably not. I mean, Klay definitely wasn't on the floor at that time. There's no telling when KD's going to come back either, so I don't think it will work.
Tim in the back.
Kawhi, Tim Reynolds from the AP. You undoubtedly are aware that there was a suit filed yesterday against Nike. I know you probably can't talk about specifics of it, but were you comfortable with that being filed during the finals? And how do you have this amazing knack for seeming like to always being able to block out distraction. How do you develop such a knack?
I mean, it happened a long time ago. It's probably you guys are just finding out, but it's not a big worry of mine. Like, I've been know about it.
Michael, back right.
Kawhi, what does it say about your head coach that he's willing to try, an unusual defense in the fourth quarter of a finals game? And can you think of some other examples this year where he's maybe done something a little surprising strategically?
I mean, I guess, a guy that thinks outside the box. He coached at a lot of different levels, seen a lot of different games. Now coached a lot of NBA games. So, I mean, I really can't remember right now, just on the spot of what he has done. But, that's just how he is. He experimental, and, a lot of times what he, draws up on the board works.
Thank you. Any other questions for Kawhi? Right here in the third row.
Hey, Kawhi, I asked Klay this. I'm curious, how does an NBA player decide what a pain is, acceptable to play through and what type of pain you need to sit out from? How do you sort of draw the line? Because everybody's hurt, everybody's beat up at this point in the season. How do you make that decision?
I mean, right now it's possible 5 games left and, about 12 days. If you could run, really. I mean, if you can't run, then you're not going to be able to play. That's how you pretty much measure things at this time. That's all I could really say. If you can run, you definitely just cannot play. And just see how it goes in the first quarter. Did it get worse or not? You might be able to start the game off running, but then you might not be able to, finish as good as you started just from fatigue and, whatever is bothering you at that time.
Right, next row back.
Kawhi, Greg Logan of Newsday, New York. Can you describe your thoughts on the job Toronto did managing your load during the season to allow you to play 40 minutes a game and be dominant in these playoffs? And we've seen you limp a few times. Are you fully 100% or are you slightly compromised?
100%. I'm on the floor. I mean, there's no excuses. Everybody knows everyone's banged or bruised up at this moment. I mean, pretty much you heard it before. Coming into the season wasn't, feeling healthy. Still was, trying to get back to my old self. I mean, they seen that, they felt that, seen pictures of, of my body, and we pretty much just laid out the schedule and went from there. Just pretty much, like I said, laid out a schedule, win game by game, see that things get worse or get better, and then just try to keep attacking each day.
Last 2 questions. Paul over there, and then over here.
Hi, Kawhi. Paul Flannery over here on your right. To follow up on a question that was asked earlier from Tim, how are you able to sort of process and block out distractions in the course of a game? And is that something that you worked on over the course of your career, or is that just just your personality, do you think?
I mean, I think it just comes natural just by, all NBA players, you know what I mean? It's just so much distractions from you, playing in high school to college and, becoming a pro. So it's probably just pretty much second nature at this point. And like I said, I know about this, way before even playoffs started. So it's nothing new to me.
So the Warriors changed the matchup in the game 2, second half. Klay was on you. How much did you enjoy the challenge?
I mean, it's fun. I've been knowing Klay for a long time, just living in California. And, I just go out and play still, you know what I mean? I'm not just playing against him at the moment. They switch a lot. They're a great defensive team, and just try to take the challenge.
Last one, next row back.
Hey, Kawhi, Trista Crick, USA Today. I was talking to Boogie earlier just about his rehab process through his injuries. He's obviously been on multiple teams. How much variance is there from team to team in terms of what the training staff is like and the types of treatment that you receive?
It's just like meeting anybody, walking outside or whatever person you're talking to, everyone's different. They're going to see the world different, life different, and that's pretty much how it is. For going from, one place to another, it's totally different people.
Thank you, Kawhi. Kyle will be in next. Mark, first question here on 2.
Kyle Mark Schwartz, ESPN. After the game, Steph Curry referred to the box and one that you guys played as a janky defense. What did you think of the janky defense that you guys played? How did it work?
Sometimes when your coach draws something up, you just kind of go with it. It is what it is. It's I don't know. It's one of the things where, coach says, this is what we're going to do, and we just did it. And, I didn't look at it as anything but, what coach said to do. And I don't know if it worked or not. I don't know the numbers or whatever it was, but it was innovative. First time a team probably ever played boxing in the NBA ever. So you give Nick Nurse credit for that. So, but I guess you can call it janky.
Mark, far right. Michael, far right.
Kyle, Michael Grange here from Sportsnet. I think you've touched on this a little bit before with Nick, or about Nick, but it takes a certain amount of conviction, I guess, to fourth quarter of a finals game to drop a defense that no one ever seems to have used in the NBA, and obviously you've never practiced. Maybe a little bit what it says about Nick.
Never practiced that ever. I don't think I've ever ran boxing one in my life. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What did he tell you needed to do?
Literally, he drew Fred FV. He said, "This is Steph. You have Steph." He put me, Kawhi, Pascal, and Mark on the board and spots, and said, "Stand there." So it was just play defense. And listen, I don't make too much of it because, it is what it is with our head coach. He wanted us to do that, and that's what we did. And, you can always say this about it or that about it. You can laugh at it. You could clown it. It is what it is. So it's just like playing zone. And, when the zone first got introduced in the NBA, guys were like, zone. But it was just like a zone.
But, do you kind of respect the fact that he's willing to do things that are not whatever else does?
Nothing Nick does surprises me now on the basketball, on the court. As a coach, it doesn't surprise me. That one kind of caught me off guard, but yeah, it was innovative.
Thank you.
Cameron Buford, LA News Observer. Just to follow up on that, he did say he kind of consulted with you guys, and my question is, has he consulted on you guys often during the season on various strategies to kind of play your opponents?
Yeah, Nick is very player friendly. He's very he'll access this or that, and he'll say, "Are you guys comfortable with doing this, or what do you think about this or that?" And a lot of the times, the situations that he puts us in are to be successful. He's done a good job of this year letting Pascal play kind of point forward games and putting out different type of offenses and schemes and defensive schemes, and he's been really good. We're in the finals for a reason, and he's helped us get here.
6th row on the left.
Kyle, Scott Stinson, National Post. KD is out, Looney is out, Klay is questionable. Do you come into Game 3 with any sort of sense of urgency that this is an opportunity you guys really have to seize?
I think we come into a sense of urgency, period. No matter, the situation, we want to win as many games. We want to be the first to 4. And every game is an urgent game. You're in the NBA Finals, so it doesn't matter. They still got professional basketball players down there, and they're really talented basketball players. So you still got to be ready to go out there and play your butt off and play hard.
Any other questions for Kyle? Michael?
Kyle, you guys had 2 stretches in that game. Obviously, the first 6 minutes of the third and the last 5-6 minutes of the game. I think you generated 5 free throws out of those 2 stretches. Anything about them that stand out to you? Why you guys could go so cold for nearly a quarter of the game?
Just didn't play aggressive. We didn't play with enough pace. We watched the film and saw things that we wish we had back. And those, first 3 minutes of the third quarter, we wish we'd had back. We got a couple shots that we missed. Just the overall urgency of coming out with the third quarter, knowing how good they are as a good third quarter team, we got to be a little bit more aggressive and assertive.
Last question over here.
Kyle Ballantunas, ESPN. But just the fact that you kind of felt them there a little bit in the third quarter, showed resiliency in the fourth period, almost coming back and winning the game. Do you think it was kind of a good learning experience just to kind of get their best shot there in the third quarter as the series goes along?
I don't know if that was their best shot. We just, they made a run and we continued to play. Basketball is a game of runs, and we're never going to stop doing what we do. We want to continue to try to play hard and win the basketball game.
As that's unfolding, like that third period run, just knowing that they've done that to other teams, you guys missed some open shots. Does that mentally affect you a little bit as you go through that period there?
No. We still had a chance to win the game at the end of the game. We just kept playing and kept working. Thank you.
This concludes the session in here for today.